is January 22nd, 2025. Ladies and gents, welcome to another episode. I'm Zach, joined as always by Preston. Preston, how are you doing tonight?
It's fucking cold, man. Ooh.
I
I feel like a lot of the eastern coast of the United States is getting hit by like a really strong like cold storm right now. I know like down deep south, like Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, they're getting snow
Yes.
and it's sticking like because which is insane. And then up here, like the Northeast and the Great Lakes area, it's like 12 degrees right now, and we've gotten probably like 2 feet of snow. So it's been a really fun last few days.
New Orleans, there was a video that BR Open Ice ended up posting yesterday about people skating on the main streets with how icy it was. Florida, there was like 3 inches of snow that ended up sticking. And then up here
Hmm.
northeast, I woke up this morning. It was -2 degrees at 8 a.m. That's
Yeah, it was fun.
crazy, dude. Now,
Yeah.
but it's slowly starting to pass. We're gonna get back into like our normal mid 20s temperature tomorrow, but it's been fucking cold here in the east. Um.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. So let's hop into a little bit of our quick hitters. First up, we have McDavid and Meyers. We're both given a 3-game suspension for cross checks to the other teammate's face. So most of you guys probably know. If you guys don't, there was a game, I believe it happened. What did it happen? Thursday or Friday? Was it? No,
No,
Saturday. Saturday night, I
uh,
think.
it was a few days
Yeah,
ago.
it
I
was
know
over. It was
that.
over. It was over the weekend. And there was a game between the Oilers and the Canucks, and there was a play. The Oilers were trying to get one more goal with the net pull with about 30 seconds left. Then you get to a situation where McDavid and Garland get tangled up, but then Garland starts holding McDavid on the ice for a good like 10 seconds as carries on.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I
Hey,
don't know how
I
they
don't know
didn't
why
have
there
a
wasn't
call
a
there
call.
initially. I would just take them both. They were both just going after each other. I don't know why the refs were letting that carry on, but it kind of got out of hand, and McDavid lost control and cross-checked him right in the nose, and that's a big no-no.
That ensued an entire scrum, and as the scrum is going on, Bouchard and Myers are in like kind of like the background towards the boards, jawing at each other. Then Myers just goes up high underneath the chin and cross checks Bouchard as well. So that entire situation happened. I'm okay with them both being three. I didn't think that they were going to be 3 games. I thought maybe 1 or 2 game were going to be for each of them. But am I shocked by the 3 games? Yes, but I'm not really like that's so far like that's too much. Like I
I
think it's
mean, the
respectable.
McDavid cross-check was really
Oh,
dirty.
it was
There was
dirty.
There was no need for that. Like he thought about it. Like there was a full like couple seconds when Garland turned towards him. And McDavid like thought about it and still went and did it. Uh, I mean, a lot of people are shocked to see that the NHL is willing to suspend their superstar for 3 games. I kind of like the message it sends is no one's really above getting suspended. We don't care if you're Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid or Matt Rempe. We're gonna suspend you if we feel it's necessary, which is I think is a good message. And yeah, McDavid can't do that. And the same thing with Myers. No need to ever cross check a guy in the face. I think the easiest thing was just to give them both the same suspension just to make it easier. They both did the same thing. I believe they both got match penalties called on the
Yeah, they
ice as
did.
well. So I think that comes with automatic hearing if you get called a match penalty. So I have no issues with what the NHL did.
No, I have no issues either. And giving them both 3 games, they kind of avoid, like, they wanted to avoid the politics of the situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, screw it. Like, if we, let's say they gave McDavid 3 games, but then they gave Myers 2 games because they're like, well, he retaliated after. First off, it doesn't make it any, 2 wrongs don't make a right, first off. And second, it's going to be like, well, why the fuck did you give the best player in the world 3 games and then you give a
But what if they
defenseman
give
who's aging
McDavid
out?
less? What if they give
Right.
McDavid like 1 or 2 games and Myers three?
It's
And
like,
then he's
okay,
like, "Oh, McDavid gets special treatment," even though I'd argue what he did was worse.
yes, exactly. You brought up a great point there. So, yeah, it's just giving them both the same amount of games, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 25 games, doesn't matter. I think was the right move. And then, secondly, the Minnesota Wild play in Utah tomorrow, and Kaprizov and Spurgeon have been out of the lineup for quite some time, but they will be returning tomorrow in the lineup for the Minnesota Wild, who they've held their head above the water while both of them have been out of the lineup. They haven't been playing too bad. I know they were at one point they lost 4 out of 5 games without them, but they're 6-4 in their last 10. They're still second in the Central with 60 points. They're right there with Dallas and even Colorado, who's 3 points behind them. So I mean, I think having both in the back in the lineup is going to be a huge boost inside the locker room, off the ice, on the ice, everything.
Yeah, like the Wild have been playing pretty good without them, and getting back one of the best players in the league and your captain definitely doesn't hurt the cause. And I think sup pro Minnesota and having a strong second half of the season.
All right, let's get into the thick of things here in the episode because Preston, I'm going to give you props for saying it about a month ago when we really dove into the Rangers situation and that dumpster fire that was a dumpster fire. You're like, you know what? Not counting the Rangers out of the wild cards race, not counting them out of anything. And now they're 6-0-3 in their last 9 games. They're 6-1-3 in their last 10 games. They now sit 2 points out of a playoff spot with 50 points. They've gotten back above 500. What a turnaround it's been for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why everyone was so quick to say the Rangers were like donezo. I mean, you just look at that roster; they have too much talent on that team to not be competitive. And Shesterkin, once he gets his head on straight, when he's playing at the top of his game, they're a really hard team to beat. And they were playing poorly, like there's no doubt about it. And once they figured it out, I know they feel the pressure. There's a lot of pressure on that team. You're in New York City, big market. You're defending President's Trophy winners, Eastern Conference finalists last year. Like, there's a big expectation on you to go win now. I did think they made a couple panic moves during that free fall. When they basically gave away Capo Caco to Seattle, who's been very good in Seattle since he's been
Over a
acquired
point
by
per
them.
game.
So, good for him. I mean, he's going to get a lot more opportunity regardless. I think he kind of fell out of favor with the coaching staff and management in New York anyway. I think they were kind of over him, but, I think it was a good opportunity for Seattle to buy low on a potential top 6 forward.
I think with them trading away Kako, I know we see it as they just gave him away for nothing because I think Kako is a better talent than Will Borgen. But Will Borgen's made a great impact on this team, and I think it was a win-win trade for both teams because Seattle, you got a guy that you needed young forward talent desperately, and you got it. You weren't really utilizing Will Borgen. He was playing on a third pair with Riker Evans in Seattle this season. So it's like, ship him off. Seattle feels like they won. And then with the Rangers, they weren't utilizing Kakko either. And Will Borgen comes in, and the players love him. You have Laviolette praised him after their 5-0 win against Ottawa last night in a press conference. So it kind of feels like both of these teams with these players are in the same situation and just switch players. Now they're both flourishing, and I know Kakko has. I think it's like 14 points in 16 games with Seattle or something like that. Either way, though, he's
13 and 15.
13 and 15. So you're still getting production out of both guys, and the turning point with this team, I think they finally understood that they just need to get their head out of the ass. Like, all of a sudden, when the Rangers start winning, there's nothing going on in the locker room. Chris Drury is relaxed. He's not panicking because this team coming off a President's Trophy campaign and an Eastern Conference Finals appearance last season, you're going to have pressure on you, especially when you bring back the same roster and you expect them to put up the same numbers. Now, they're not being as dominant as they were last season, but they are playing great hockey. When Igor Shesterkin is on his A game, they're one of the teams in the league that are practically unbeatable. And Shesterkin has been absolutely stellar over these past 10, 11 games. And the Rangers will go how far he goes. Panarin's been great. Their power play last night against Ottawa
Panarin did miss
was
some
great.
time with injury as well.
Did. So I ended up live streaming the game last night, and it looked like it took a little bit for the Rangers to get going, but in that third period, when they went up 3-0, and then that scrum happened. By the way, Igor Shesterkin going in and fighting. Well, he didn't really fight Brady Tkachuk, but he threw his fucking hands at Brady Tkachuk in the scrum. Did you see that video at all, Preston?
I did not know.
So I thought it was hilarious. I kind of went crazy over it because Brady Tkachuk got an extra 2 for goaltender interference because he was driving the net like he usually does, tried the jab at it, and then knocked Shesterkin into the net, which I think Shesterkin kind of flopped a little bit because he barely got touched, but his head did hit the ice a little hard. No trainers came out, whatever. And all of a sudden, Igor Shesterkin gets up out of nowhere and just he bullets behind the net, behind the goal line, at Brady Kachuk and like is trying to drop the gloves and fight Brady. But Igor at the post game press conference last night said that if he would have dropped the gloves, then he wouldn't have been able to be the goalie in that game because he gets ejected and he had to shut out. And he was like, maybe if there was one goal allowed, he'd go like jokingly, ha ha ha, whatever. Um, but the Rangers have been entertaining lately, and when the Rangers are good, it's great for hockey, genuinely.
Now the race in the East is interesting. I know we talk about this way too much, but
Fuck
have to
it,
talk about
fuck
it.
it,
I
fuck
mean,
it.
the Rangers are back in the thick of things. Your Columbus is still playing really, really well. Montreal playing really, really well. Boston is kind of all over the place, but they kind of have been all year. But they're still going to be in that conversation all season long. I mean, the Rangers, I think, still have a very strong chance to be a playoff team to get a wild card spot. I don't. I think it might be a little too far out of the question to say they get back in the top three in the Metro. I mean, New Jersey's kind of on a skid. We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, the Rangers saved their season. I would say in this last few weeks how they've been playing.
When it comes to like situation that the Rangers are in, all it takes is like one streak that they're on their 9 game point streak right now because this was a team that they started off the season like 12-4-1 or something like that, and all of a sudden they just like were skidding for like 2 straight months, and they're lucky that they got off to that ridiculously hot start because they could be sitting with the Islanders at 45 points, and this could be too much to handle for this Rangers team. But right now, luckily, they're okay, and they go on that streak, and they weren't like big losing streaks. They were like they're losing 3 straight and then they win one, lose 2 straight and then they win 1 or 2 games, and that kind of saved them in an aspect too from not letting the season fall out of their fingertips completely and like losing 8 or 9 straight games, and they kept it together just long enough before the streak hit. Which credit where credit's due. This team, they needed a jolt of something, and they're winning hockey games, and it looks like they're having fun again, and they're getting back on track. And I think part of it is due to their power play and penalty kill being so much improved over the past month. This team's penalty kill and power play has been some of the best in the league over the past 3 to 4 weeks.
I mean, I still think, regardless of whatever happens with the Rangers, I do think they need a new coach. I don't think
Yeah,
Peter Laviolette is the right coach for them long term. I think he'll make it if they make the playoffs. So he'll make it out of the year. Like I think they were like kind of getting close to maybe making coaching shades mid-season. If they would have kept this up. Making the playoffs might buy Drury another year. I think though, regardless, I think Peter Laviolette, unless they go on like a really deep playoff run, get to the Cup final, I think his time might be over in New York. I think they need to find a different coach for that group.
So the first guy that I think is going to go, if it's not at the same time, is going to be Pierre Laviolette. If the Rangers do make the playoffs and they like, let's say they are second round exits, maybe Laviolette ends up sticking around. Maybe he doesn't. I think that's where you get into fishy waters. But with expectations, sure, I would fire him personally, like you said. And then I think at that point, Chris Drury does buying him another season with the team, or at least off season. But the only problem I have with that is if the Rangers keep this up, and because I personally think the Rangers can add at some point, and with them being so close to JT Miller, getting him over the weekend per Elliot Friedman, they all, I think the conditions on the first round pick they couldn't agree on, so it fell through with the
What
Canucks.
players were involved with that
So
potential
Philip
trade?
Hedel and Ryan Lindgren and a conditional first for JT Miller. I don't know if there would have been more players involved on the Canucks side going back to New York, and then New York like
Are they
more
taking
draft
the
picks,
whole
whatever.
I'm assuming that's them taking the whole contract
I don't
then.
I don't know. I don't think that was released to the public. I don't know how much cap space the Rangers have at the moment. I don't
They
know
have
how
about
much,
$7 million in cap space right now.
and then they would have
They
gotten
would
the
have
8 million.
they would have cleared a good amount of cap space moving on from if they did trade out. Cheadle's getting 4.4, Lindgren's getting
So I'm
4.5.
assuming they would be taking on the entire contract. Then both teams are basically trading almost the same amount of money. Basically, the Canucks are getting what 8.4 more or something like that.
I'm
Eight
kind of
point
glad
eight
that
more.
trade didn't go through. I really like that return for Vancouver.
You
Uh,
didn't like that return from Vancouver?
no, I'm not very high. I mean, Lindgren's a UFA at the end of the year, and I'm not super high on Philip Cheadle.
I I don't know how I talked about it in the JT Miller video I put out last night, whatever. I, I'm trying to figure out if I really like it for the Rangers or no. I didn't. I don't. I think I said I didn't like it for the Rangers. Be- yeah. I said I didn't really like it for the Rangers because when you look at the Canucks, sure, JT Miller is coming off a ridiculous season. I know he's a superstar player in this league, and the Rangers can most definitely use a guy like JT Miller. And the Canucks getting back Hito and Lindgren, I think, helps their team tremendously. I know you're not adding a lot of offense to that team because you're getting rid of a lot of offense with JT Miller, not only on the power play, but shorthanded, even strength, all of the above. He plays all situations for the Canucks. But getting a guy like Ryan Lindgren to help, which I think that their blue line is very top heavy. Getting a guy like Ryan Lindgren who can slot into that second D pair, I think is the right move. And you're trading some defense for some offense because when you look at the Canucks, they're struggling. Excuse me, they're struggling with goaltending and defense, and adding a guy like Ryan Lindgren could really help that.
I don't know why this just popped in my head, but do you remember originally when JT Miller was on the Rangers and they traded him to Tampa Bay?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
What a fleece Tampa got. He got Ryan McDonough and JT Miller for a first, a second, and the only player of note really out of that is Vladislav Nemestikov, decent player, and Brett Howden. The rest of them, like the first round pick, is Nils Lundqvist, decent defenseman. He's not even on the
Yeah, he's
Rangers.
on Dallas.
And a second round pick I never heard of, and a defenseman I never heard of.
So it was a
So, and
fleece of the century, basically.
well, Tampa ended up flipping JT Miller a couple years later to Vancouver. So JT Miller was not on those Stanley Cup winning teams.
Yeah, didn't they trade him in what was it, 2018 or 19? Was it, or is it earlier than that?
Yeah, 2019, the summer. I think. Yeah, he was one of those players that got shipped out after they got swept by the Blue Jackets in the first round,
Okay. They
and
based
so
they
they
wanted
didn't
him.
really get that trade. Didn't really end up turning into anything for Tampa Bay. That first round pick is Shakir. I'm not going to say that last name. Uh, Borderline NHL defenseman. Third round pick I've never heard of, and a goalie I've never heard of. But
Okay.
they end up winning a cup with Ryan McDonough, so that's a good trade for them
So
either way.
when you get a championship out of the trade, you're
Oh, you
automatically the
automatically
winner.
win.
It
Someone's
doesn't.
got to tell that to Chris because he's still insisting that the Sabres won the Ryan O'Reilly trade because we got Tage Thompson.
Dude, I wish Chris was here right now because he would go to fucking war to defend himself right now.
I don't
Oh,
get where he's coming from with that. I try to explain. He's like, they won a Stanley Cup. They win the trade.
that
If
like
we if we win a cup with Tage Thompson, okay, it's even then.
exactly. You get a champion. Doesn't matter if the Blues are they have 0 points right now. They still won the trade.
That cup is there forever, and Ryan O'Reilly
Yes.
is the reason why they won that Stanley Cup. They
He,
win that trade 100 out of 100
he
times.
got the Conn Smythe. He won that trade. I don't care if Tage Thompson puts up 80 goals next season. Doesn't
Yeah,
fucking
no,
matter.
it literally doesn't matter unless the
Right.
Sabres win a Stanley Cup, and that ain't happening
No,
anytime soon.
not even close. They got to learn how to
Sorry,
get in the
sorry to get
playoffs
off
first.
topic there. It's just every time I hear someone bring up like who won a trade, he will still defend it adamantly to this day. I do not get it.
Like, what are we doing?
Like I like Tage, but we don't have a Stanley Cup. I'd much rather have a cup than Tage Thompson.
And we don't
Sorry.
even have a playoff appearance.
No.
Oh, okay.
Just like the Sabres lost the Jack Eichel trade and the Sam Reinhart trade. I don't give a fuck who we got back. They both won cups. We lose those trades.
We pretty
don't
much
care.
lose every trade that we do. It's ridiculous. No, I agree. It's ridiculous. Okay. So let's get into the Devils a little bit because you mentioned them briefly earlier. But this team is skidding as of late. They're 2-6-3 in their last 11. They've scored a grand total of 20 goals in that 11-game stretch. This team is struggling mightily. They can't figure it out. Anything. Jack Hughes has come out and he said they just need to figure it the fuck out because he's frankly getting sick of it and being their number one guy. Yes, you should be getting sick of it, and they're lucky that they got this huge cushion with every other team in the Metro Division. They're lucky the Rangers aren't on their ass right now or even taking that spot in the third spot in the Metro.
Yeah, no, the Devils, yeah, they've kind of been on a skid lately. I'm not really worried about it. I still think they're a solidified playoff team in my opinion. I mean, it is interesting to see how they haven't been able to score. You think with that offensive lineup, they wouuld have no issue scoring on a day in, night
Right.
out basis. But I mean, every team goes through a rut. I think it's better now than potentially going into the playoffs. I mean, because they have a pretty big cushion, and they haven't really played themselves out of second place in that
Mhm.
division. Washington's kind of pulling away in the Metro, which is crazy.
They
I still can't get over how good Washington is this year.
Washington, right? If the season ended right now, they win the President's Trophy by. They had 69 points. Second in the league is Winnipeg with 65 points, and Washington has a game in hand on Winnipeg.
Yeah, but they're up in their division by 8 points, and they
Yes,
have
they are,
a game in hand on the Hurricanes,
and two
which
on the Devils.
I still can't get over how good Washington's been this year. I that came out of nowhere for
Logan
me.
Thompson is I know we're getting off track with the Devils, but Logan Thompson is having a phenomenal year. Okay, all right. Let's get back on the Devils now. Yeah. So the Devils are struggling a little bit. They're up 4-1 right now against the Bruins, second intermission. So it looks like they're, you know, getting the
They're not
scoring
the
touch
Sabres,
back.
so they shouldn't blow a lead.
Exactly. I mean, you look at their recent game, they lost to the Senators 2-1, Flyers 3-1, Leafs 4-3 in overtime, Panthers 2-1. Their goaltending is fine. They just can't put the puck in the back of the net. Like you're allowing 2 goals and you're losing those games. Like that shouldn't be happening, frankly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, when you're scoring 1 to 2 goals a game, that's not enough to win
You
unless you're getting like pitch perfect goaltending every night. But the goaltending's been good enough,
It
I
has
would
been.
say.
It's been good enough for
Uh,
them to win games.
so yeah, I think this is a team kind of playing down to their competition. I don't know. I mean, there's some tough games in there. Like get shut up by the Kings, good defensive team. Losing 2-1 to the Panthers in a shootout, nothing really to hang your head about
That was a
there.
fun
Leafs
game to
4-3 in
watch though.
overtime. But the losing those games like Philly and Ottawa, those ones are tough.
Yeah, those ones are tough. And now you have the Canadians coming up Saturday at back-to-back with the Flyers, and then an automatic W against the Sabres on Sunday, February. That one should, those games that are, what is it called, like a tuning up game or something like that. There you fucking go. Um,
Yeah,
but the Devils, I like you said, I'm not worried about them. Every team goes through tough stretches at some point in the season, unless you're the Washington Capitals, basically.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, I think this would be good for them. I think it will have them see like it's better to go through this now in the middle of the year
hmm
than at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year where it can kill your season if it happens
It's
early in the season. Or at the end of the year, you're going really flat going into the playoffs, especially because they have that break coming up in a few weeks
mhm.
with the Four Nations Cup. I still really like where New Jersey is overall. I mean, Jack Hughes. I remember everyone was calling him a bust a few years ago. My boy Jesper Bratt, like they're still having good seasons out of them. And like you said, goaltending, Jacob Markstrom's been everything they wanted him to be. I think.
He's been great for them, and with New Jersey, them going through the skid, facing adversity with the team like New Jersey. Now there's some teams that like the older veteran teams like Florida, for example, they don't really need to face adversity to understand like the ebbs and flows of the season, right? Because they've been the back-to-back cups. They're the defending cup champs. A team like New Jersey that is sure it's a mix of young talent and some veteran-led players as well, but a team that hasn't really seen a lot of success as a franchise in probably since they made it to the cup final. And what year was that? Was that
Yeah,
2012 against the
2012 when they lost
Kings?
to the Kings, yeah.
Yes.
And
So
Marty Brodeur carried them.
he hard like we're talking about hard carry type shit. Um so facing adversity throughout the season, I think it's great for this New Jersey team. I'm hoping, I don't think it will turn into it, but I'm hoping that now this doesn't like keep carrying over into like game after game where they eventually start like falling in the standings, which I don't think will happen. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens with the Devils because maybe this Four Nations break from the 12th to the 20th or whatever it is for them specifically, it might be a blessing for them just to regroup going into this.
well, they're gonna have a few players playing in the net, so Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt. Let me look.
Nico
Close the
Hischier,
tab.
I think.
No,
No,
he's
no.
Swiss. He's not
Yeah,
going to be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
playing.
You're right. You're right.
Timo Meyer should be playing. Oh, he's Swiss as well. Damn, I didn't know he was Swiss.
No, Luke Hughes didn't get picked.
No.
I think that'd be it.
Is Dougie Hamilton playing?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's interesting. Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I take that back.
Dougie
Stupid point.
Hamilton.
I don't know
Doug,
where I was going with that.
Dougie Hamilton's American, right?
Oh, I think Eric Holla is playing.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Devils fans probably already crucified us for forgetting him
How
before
dare
even
I forget about Eric Holla? I'm so sorry.
Fuck. What are we doing? Fuck. Restart. No, just.
Dougie Hamilton is Canadian.
Okay, he's Canadian. Yeah, he's definitely not
Yeah.
on the team. No disrespect to Dougie Hamilton, but their defense is just pretty good, if I say so myself. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Capitals while we're in the Metro Division at all?
I mean, we
I mean-
can. I mean, we kind of. I feel like we've been saying the same things about them for a while, though. It's like they're good. Like
All right,
they're much better than we thought they were going to be.
all right. You know what? Fucking, we won't dive into them or whatever. Then
Yeah, but Logan Thompson has been awesome. 22-2 record,
that is ridiculous. That he
925
has a.
save percentage.
Can we just insert him in the Vesna talks at this point? Or is it the product of the team in front of it? Like we can't.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, they did get a lot better this year. Just like they made a ton of moves. They brought in a lot of different guys. You know, Pierre-Luc Dubois was a gamble, and it's paying off. He's been actually pretty solid for them. A really good 2C, 3C for them. Dylan Strome has also, continued his play from the last couple years where we wanted to see some more consistency out of the game, and we got that. Jacob Chikrin, very smart move, bringing it in by kind of on a buy low thing. We talked about Logan Thompson coming in. That's been a really good move. Interesting to see. He's going to get quite a pay raise. He's getting $766,000 this year.
Which
He's not
player
even
was
getting
that?
paid. Logan Thompson. He's not even
Okay.
making $1 million this year.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. But they also brought in Andrew Mangiapane. Tom Wilson's actually having a pretty solid season, and Ovi is the ageless wonder right now.
Dude's an absolute beauty. He's gonna break the record this year. Fuck it, why not?
So Washington. I mean, I thought they already had a really good coach. Spencer Carberry. He was the main reason they made the playoffs last year. That team had no business being a playoff team last year. That and Charlie Lindgren was playing out of his mind. And Charlie Lindgren's been pretty solid for them. Like, I wouldn't really call him a backup. It's kind of crazy considering how well Logan Thompson's played, but they kind of split starts. Thompson's
they
played
do.
21 games. Lindgren's played 21. I would say ride Logan Thompson until he starts playing bad, but Lindgren's a solid backup option.
This is crazy because they have two number one caliber goaltenders on this team, and I'm going to pitch Logan Thompson for Vesna consideration and being a candidate right now. Okay,
I mean, he's played himself into that conversation right now for sure.
he has, because we talk, like me and you and like everybody's talked about Connor Hellebuck not only being a Hart candidate, like he should be in there, but also being a pretty much unanimous Vezina Trophy winner if the season ended today. Well, Logan Thompson's stats are not too far off. He has a 209 goals against and a 925 save percentage. He's 22-2-3. Like, sure, I'm not going to hold the record for him or against him because I think a record is that's a team stat for goaltenders or in any sport. It doesn't matter. But in this instance, for Logan Thompson and goaltenders in the NHL.
I liked Logan Thompson a lot when he was in Vegas, and I was kind of surprised they traded him this year because maybe this is the part where they thought they were going to get the most value for him in a trade. Because he is on a very, very team-friendly contract. But it wouldn't have made sense for them to hold on to him because he is on that really team-friendly contract, and he's been good for Vegas. Like last year, 46 games, 25 wins, 270 goals against average, 908 save percentage. Like pretty solid numbers for a backup, especially for a guy you're not even paying $1 million.
I think I don't know how Aiden Hill's doing this season, but I wonder if Vegas would have been better off trading Aiden Hill instead of Logan Thompson. However, though, like these stats could be a product of he's not a clear number one goaltender on this team. He just has a little bit more games played than Lindgren, which is not a bad thing. Only a 6-game difference. So
Well,
that could
my
be
question is, I don't know if Vegas ever viewed Logan Thompson as a number one
no,
goalie.
no, they didn't. They didn't. When Logan Thompson came back from injury, the year that they won the cup, we saw that Logan Thompson ended up missing some significant time, and then he came back right around the playoffs, and they still rode with Aiden Hill throughout the entire
But I mean, but
playoffs.
Aiden Hill was playing way too
Yeah,
good in
yeah,
the
but like
playoffs. Like
even well,
they couldn't pull
well,
him.
even in the like I understand that with like in the playoffs where you're not pulling a hot goaltender in the playoffs no matter what. Like it doesn't matter
Hmm.
if it's fucking Alexander Georgiev is putting up a 940 save percentage in the playoffs. You're not pulling him. That's by the way, that's complete shade at Georgiev. You fucking
Yeah, I
suck.
was about to say that's
Yes.
disrespectful. Jeez,
um,
what you say fuck me for?
I'm so happy he doesn't watch
Catching
this.
strays. Jeez.
Uh, with that whole entire Vegas situation, like that season, Logan Thompson, I think he wasn't able to. I don't know if he got hurt after the All Star game or before, but like Aiden Hill was playing some good hockey going into the playoffs, but it wasn't great, and then he turned it on in the playoffs. So
I think Logan Thompson was just coming back from injury when the playoffs had started, and I
yeah,
think they were just like, "You haven't played in a while. We're not going to have you like just start in the playoffs. If Aiden Hill doesn't play well, we'll move to you." But he never had a bad game really, so no reason
and
to
I'm
switch it
sure
up.
at the time Logan Thompson was like, "Fuck it, if we're gonna win a cup, why not?" And then they ended up winning a cup because of it.
Oh yeah, I mean he still was a really important part of that team winning a Stanley Cup. Don't get me wrong. I mean he played a lot for them in the regular season that year. 'Cause Aiden Hill was a trade acquisition that year.
Yeah. And Logan Thompson got off. I remember he got off to a ridiculous hot start. Like people were talking about he could possibly win the Vezina Trophy, and then he gets hurt.
Yeah, he missed a good amount of time that
I
year.
think
Yeah,
he
because
missed what,
he
2 months?
something like that. He only played 37
Yeah,
games. Yeah, he had a 915 save percentage, so he was having a good season.
he
Two
was.
shutouts. Yeah, and then he gets hurt. They trade for Aiden Hill. He was playing Aiden Hill was playing really well when he initially even got to Vegas too from San Jose.
Loris, I didn't even realize that he came from San Jose. That's new.
Oh yeah,
I
people
did
were
not
like
know
mad. It was
that.
oh, they got him for like nothing. What was the trade? Fourth round pick.
Wow. I don't remember that. I don't even know if I
It
was.
was one of those moves like you see at the deadline. And you're like, oh, who the fuck is Aiden Hill?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Because yeah, because he was on the Sharks and they were bad, and he was like their backup goalie.
Okay, it was a just we'll give you a goaltender. Here you go for fourth round pick, and he gets swept under the rug. So
Hmm.
okay, that
I mean,
makes sense.
actually, he played a couple. He played an AHL game that year too. He won a Stanley Cup. I'm not sure if that was a conditioning stint or whatnot, but according to his stats, he did play one game in 22-23 for the Henderson Silver Knights. So
Okay, well look at him. He's
I didn't have a good game. He let in 5 goals and had an 850 save percentage.
I'm assuming that was definitely a conditioning stint, or that was
I would
when
hope so.
if that was while he was on the NHL roster and they just sent him down for one game. First off, I don't know why he'd only get sent down for one game unless it was a conditioning stint,
Yeah, it's
or if it
probably a
was
conditioning stint.
either that or I don't remember him getting hurt though that season.
I think he would. I'm just looking at his stats. 21-22, he played for the Sharks. He played 25 games. Then he did not play for the Sharks at all in 22-23. He only played 27 games for Vegas, so I'm assuming he was injured.
Okay, all right, makes sense then. Okay, makes sense. All right, so let's go on to the Pittsburgh
Oh, that was
Penguins.
a trade in August is also. That's probably
Oh,
also
it,
why you don't
it
remember the
happened in
trade.
August.
It was
Oh,
a late summer trade that probably no one paid any attention to because like who the hell is Aiden Hill anyway?
and it happened in the middle of the summer, and nobody's paying attention to trades like that in the middle of August unless you're Vegas,
Yep.
basically. All right,
And that ended up winning him a cup.
and would you look at that? Vegas got a cup out of it. So let's move on to the Pittsburgh Penguins and a possible fire sale that we could see them have at the deadline. Now, we said this last season too. The entire media said it, and they did not have a fire sale. They traded fucking Jake Ensel, and that's pretty much it. Dubas came out in one of his bi-weekly radio shows. It was either yesterday or today or earlier this week, whatever it was. He denied all the rumors about him wanting to do fire sale and wanting to really shop around Eric Carlson. And we're talking about it while we were getting ready for this episode. Like, it could be complete bullshit. Of course he's going to deny, is exactly what you said. Of course he is. And they only have one retention spot left. You get a max of 3 retention spots for salary. One opens up July 1st when the new season
Both
starts.
of them,
So
both of them open up
both of
there.
them.
Yeah,
Okay, so they'll
they're
have a full.
currently for Riley Smith and Jeff Petrie, and they're both off the books after the season.
All right, so even better. So if I'm the Penguins, I try to trade Eric Carlson first. Retain 50%. Just get him off your roster. He's a complete liability at this point.
I
And
mean, he's
it's
still pretty good offensively.
yeah, but like you can still get some value back for him. And I know with Crosby and Malkin on your team, you're always gonna want to try to win, which feels like the Penguins are holding off from rebuilding and retooling. And I th- I don't want to speak for Dubas, but it feels like the Penguins organization knows they have to retool and rebuild. But again, with those two guys on the team, you're not just going to be one of the worst teams in the league while they're 36, 37 years old type thing.
I mean, I think they're at a really sorry.
You're
I
good.
don't think they're in a really good spot to be competitive the next few years anyway, unless they're able to move a lot of money. I don't know what big free agent they're gonna attract. Because let's say you do move Eric Carlson, how much realistically salary are you retaining minimum? I think it's the minimum at least $3 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so you free up 7 million there. I don't think Letang is movable. Crosby's obviously not available. I don't think Malkin's movable, even if he was. That's another player I don't think is available. But who knows? Maybe if he comes up to Dubas and says, "Hey, like I want to go win again," and not like before in Pittsburgh, I don't think he can do it. Maybe, but yeah, I don't think Malkin is available. Uh, Other than that, though, I don't know how
I
many
I think
players would really
Brian
be
Rust.
attractive to be traded for right now. Brian Russ, I don't like the term on his key deal. He's got $5.1 billion cap hit. He's got 3 more years after
But
this.
he's putting up close to a point per game, and Ricard Raquel I think is going to be attractive for teams as well. And both of those
Rickard
guys,
Rakell is a guy I wouldn't trade if I'm Pittsburgh. I would hold on to him because if you realistically think you have a chance to win the next few years, you hold on to a guy like Rickard Rakell.
if you like, I like that point that you brought up. If you think that you have a realistic shot of competing, you don't trade Ricard, you don't trade Raquel or Rust. If you trade one of those guys, you make sure it's an NHL hockey move, and you're gonna get NHL ready pieces back for, and they're gonna contribute to the lineup right away. You don't. I know this is a complete different situation. You don't want a McGroarty type trade where you think he's NHL ready, but then he plays a few games in the NHL and you realize, fuck, he's not ready for the NHL, so you send him down. You don't want that type of thing. So
Yeah, but I still understand the rash. I still understand why they did
I
that
do
trade.
too.
I think they are gonna come to regret that, but because I think Braden Yeager is a better prospect.
Sorry, fuck, I had to yawn. yeah,
Contagious.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, looking at it from that aspect, I do think Yeager is a much better prospect, but doing a fire sale with the Penguins is tough. You have to be very meticulous and you have to be very surgical with how they're gonna do this thing because they're in a tough spot. And it sucks for if you're a Penguins fan too, or if you're in that organization because I what Pittsburgh should have did is what Washington has done this season. Just say fuck it and just go all out. Sign as many free agents as you can. Make hockey trades. But clearly the Penguins didn't have that dog in them. And they ended up just keeping the
I
roster.
don't. I think they don't. I don't think they were willing to give up the assets that Washington was willing to give up. I think Dubas is trying to do his best to make the team competitive still, and realizing like we probably aren't going to win a cup with this team, and I can't mortgage the whole team's future over that.
Dubas is okay,
He's
okay.
in a tough. He's in a tough
He is
spot
in
right
a
now.
very tough spot with this team. And I kind of feel for him because I know he took the job willingly, but when he took the job, I highly doubt he was thinking of what's happening right now with this roster. And when he took over the roster was honestly not that bad. They were, when did he get hired? 20 going into last season, right?
This is his third year, I believe, in
So yeah,
Pittsburgh.
okay, so yeah, it's his third year. He was coming into an organization that I believe they were coming off a playoff berth in 22-23.
Yeah, I believe that's when Tristan Jarry kind of like shit the bed against the Islanders. I remember I was watching one of the games and he like gave the puck to somebody in overtime and they lost or something stupid like that. That was the last time I made the playoffs. I believe they lost like 5 or 6 games to the Islanders.
The downfall of the of Tristan Jarry has been fucking real. It has been real. That contract looks horrible.
Yeah, he's
Um,
getting bought out.
I mean, you're paying a guy as less money to not play for you, and then in one season it goes up to $5 million, or it was like 5.027 or something like that. So
I still think, yeah, even you're still getting that cap hit if you bury it.
yeah, I mean, at some point I would buy him out. He's just sitting in the AHL right now doing dick shit. I don't. Do you have his stats up right now?
He's played 5 games with Wilkes-Barre. I mean, he has good 4-1, 926 save percentage. He should be good in the AHL because he's not an AHL goalie. So
I wonder if the Penguins are just gonna keep him down there for a time being, and then possibly call him back up. But when you have goaltenders putting up multi-point games, like you have no room for him.
shut the fuck up. No, I mean, Nedeljkovic hasn't really been setting the world on fire either with his stats. I think Bloomquist is probably the best goalie on that team, which isn't really saying much because he's not that good either. I mean, this team doesn't have a goalie right now, and I think that's another thing that's holding them back is like this roster isn't that bad. Like they're competing for a playoff spot right now, but yeah, they need a goalie.
Yeah, and with their goaltending, I think they do need a goalie bad, and I think Bloomquist is going to be the guy at some point. I just don't think he's ready to be thrust into that number one role, which is why they have Nedeljkovic. But like you said, Nedeljkovic isn't playing good hockey. So they got to figure that situation out soon. And there's not really goalies to go out there and trade for on the market. The goalie market is very expensive.
I mean, the one goalie free agent that's going to be available that's going to get a lot of money is Logan Thompson, the guy we were just talking about. He's a UFA at the end of the year, so
And
we'll see if Washington gets a deal done to keep him there. I mean, there will be Frederick Anderson will be a UFA at the end of the year. Not sure if Carolina bothers keeping him around for another year. Uh, we'll see.
I
There will be some options. Just how much money is Pittsburgh gonna have to spend?
they're gonna have to spend some money for a goaltender at some point. And I think Lankinen is going to be a UFA as well. He's not a great option, but
Yeah,
he's
Lankinen, Aiden Hill will be a UFA. Uh,
assuming Aiden Hill goes back to Vegas, but you never know. I
yeah, I
don't know.
mean there'll be some options out there. I mean, I think number one goalie in the free agent market. I don't think Washington will let him get to UFA is Logan Thompson. I think he's their future number one because Charlie Lindgren's also UFA. But if Logan Thompson's only 27 years old, I'm signing him to like a 6, 7 year contract.
Going the before we end things here, going to that Lindgren and Thompson situation because they're both UFAs. Are we thinking they give not Lindgren, they give Thompson a bag, and do they completely let Lindgren walk and just sign like a backup goaltender? Like I don't know,
I
Lankinen for
mean, in an
example,
ideal
or
world, you'd like to keep both of them,
of
but I don't think
course.
that's a realistic option. I think Logan Thompson makes a lot more sense, to keep around. He's younger. He's having much better stats this year. I think I view Charlie Lindgren as like a high-end backup player who could be a starter if you needed him to. I don't view him as a long-term starter. So Charlie Lindgren will definitely have a market as like a high-end backup for like a team that doesn't have the strongest number one goalie.
Hmm.
Like I could see a team like Colorado maybe taking a swing on him, or New Jersey as like a backup to Jacob Markstrom because Jake Allen will also be a UFA at the end of the year. It'll be really interesting to see, but yeah, the goalie to watch is probably going to be Logan Thompson, just to see. I think the most logical thing is he stays in Washington.
Yeah.
I think Washington will be willing to pay him. Like Freddie Anderson will be interesting. We'll see how he's just coming. He's just returning now from an injury, so we'll see how he plays when he comes back. And if he plays really well, he might be able to get himself a decent contract next season. He is 35, so it's not going to be a long-term deal, but he could still be a pinch starter for a year or two if you needed him to.
When you talked about Lindgren, two teams came up in mind when you're shooting out teams: Edmonton Oilers and the
Yeah.
Vancouver Canucks. I think in Vancouver, Demko is not the long term option there anymore. And I'm not going to get into that now. We can save it for next week's episode about the entire thing with Demko, just so we can prepare a little bit more on it. But it's not looking great in Vancouver is all I'm going to say right now with him.
Yeah, no, yeah, Lingler will definitely have a market. Like he'll be a sought after goalie. He'll get a decent contract, like I said, for a team that doesn't have the strongest starter, looking for a high end backup. I think, yeah, he'll definitely have an attractive market.
Most definitely. That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below, as well as the subscribe button. Go follow our Instagram and TikTok for more exclusive content. Thank you guys for listening on Spotify and Apple. We'll see you guys in our next episode.